Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of November 3rd. Before we get started, a couple things, quick things to do. Always got to check the Thiensville fish camera. Doesn't look like anybody's coming by right now, but I did see some fish swimming through yesterday, some king salmon, and we should be seeing some cohos here pretty quick, but we'll talk about some of that stuff later. Some stuff going on around the shop. We got on the door here, we got a poster for the Yahara Fishing Club is having their meeting on November 8th here, so that'd be next Wednesday at 7:30 at Boulevard Lanes. They're going to be talking about the PFAS in our waterways here in Madison and how it affects fish and people, and it's going to be led by, it looks like, a great panel of folks, both from the DNR and county, and yeah, so if you want to learn more about PFAS, this looks like a great opportunity, and thanks, of course, to the Yahara Fishing Club for putting this on and doing great stuff out there. I do have a poster up for the Jam for Cans, which is this Saturday at the VFW on Cottage Grove Road. Looks like a country music lineup there. It's just 3 non-perishable food items to get in the door, or a $3 donation. They're going to have raffle prizes and a bunch of stuff. So yeah, support a good cause, and yeah, looks like a great event. We do have ice stuff out on the shelves here at the shop, so pretty much got everything out, and swing by and check it out. Some of this stuff, once it's gone, it's gone. So if there's anything you got your eye on, might be a good idea to pick something up now rather than wait, because like I said, when it's gone, a lot of times this stuff, they just do a limited run of stuff and then it's gone. I also wanted to point people towards, if you're looking for something to do tomorrow, trout season's closed. Maybe you don't want to drive over and fish for salmon in Milwaukee. Trout Unlimited, Southern Wisconsin Trout Unlimited has a work day tomorrow. You can go on their Facebook page here at Southern Wisconsin Trout Unlimited and check it out. Be on Whitford Creek. That's just, I believe, west of Hollandale, out west of Madison here. But great group, doing great stuff out there as well. Okay, so I guess as far as the report goes, it was weather was high of 70 last week when I gave this report. The bottom really fell out of things on Saturday, and we just had highs in the 40s most of the week. Things started warming up yesterday, and the weekend actually looks pretty nice with highs in the 50s, not much chance of rain. So great opportunity to get out and do some fishing or whatever you're into. The Mendota buoy is still down, but another resource that has online said the Mendota surface temp is at 51 degrees this morning. Lake Monona in Brittingham Bay down here was reading at 43 this morning, so that's down quite a bit from 60 degrees we had this time last week. But that, of course, that was after kind of a warm rain and a warm day. Folks still asking about turnover. I haven't heard any physical evidence of cloudy, foul-smelling water on any of the lakes, but with the surface temperatures we got right now, and sounds like the water's pretty clear all around town, turnover has to have happened. So I'm going to call it and say that it's happened. A little bit of other news here. They did pull the piers, I guess, out of Olin Park completely yesterday. So Olin Park launch isn't as usable as it once was. There's still a pier up on the north end of Monona at Olbrich. I wish they would have swapped that because Olbrich's so shallow there. But anyway, and I'm not sure of the status of all the piers on Mendota, but I know they pulled all the piers but one over here on at Warner, at the Warner Park boat launch, and so there's still a pier in there, and I think they usually leave one over here at Marshall Park too, right up until ice. So just wanted to remind folks that it's going to be that time of year, and we're going to be having to pull those piers sooner or later. Generally around the chain, as weeds continue to die off and float to the surface, they can be annoying depending on where you're fishing and wind. But most reports I hear, like I said, are of clear water around town. Otherwise, depending on species, the fish that were in their fall patterns might change a bit. Gills are still being found on mid-lake humps, but as temps continue to drop, a lot of those fish are going to start looking for shallow green weeds. If anyone's even been able to find perch this year, they've been hiding in the weeds, but as those weeds die off and we get closer to ice, many of those fish are going to start to school up and move out deeper. So hopefully they'll be easier to find in the winter. Bass fishing can be tough after turnover. Those fish kind of are free to go wherever they like. But you can usually find fish near green weeds is a good place to start. Rocky areas too for smallmouth. Walleye are still being picked up on mid-lake humps, but a lot of those fish have moved in to shallow weeds and right on the weed edges and right in the weeds a lot of times during the day, with fish cruising shallow, often rocky shorelines at night. Pike are plentiful and have their fall feed bag on, and now that we're past turnover, the musky sucker bite should be pretty great right up until ice up. The Wisconsin River right now is running at almost double its seasonal flow for this time of year, and the Rock River is just above average for this time of year. Up here on the north side, we get into a little more detail. Up here to Cherokee, I got a report the other day that a lot of the weeds are coming down pretty nice, and actually there's some decent casting to be had from shore up there. A lot of pike up in Cherokee per usual. If you don't want to fish them from shore, you can get out here at the School Road launch and go up and down and probably find some pike in there too. Down on the 113 bridge. Haven't heard much from catfish folks lately, but they are getting some walleyes down there, and I had a report of some crappies moving through there the other day. On Lake Mendota itself, still gills are still keeping folks busy on weed lines and mid-lake humps with a small jig and spike working best for those fish. As we get closer to ice, like I said, those fish are going to move into shallow and seek out green weeds for the winter. Haven't heard much in the way of largemouth bass, but smallmouth bass action's been great this last week, especially for the folks running minnows under a slip bobber. Walleye are still being picked up on mid-lake humps, but the best action's been on weed edges and right in the weeds near shoreline breaks during the day, with fish coming very shallow, often to rocky areas at night to feed. Nighttime shore anglers have been doing well in areas like the University Shoreline down here, Tenney Park Breakwall, Warner Park Launch, Governor's Island, Picnic Point, and then your mid-lake humps, Dunn's Bar, Second Point, Brearley Bars, and stuff have also been good as far as Mendota walleye go. And folks are doing well with a paddle tail and a jerk bait, but it's hard to beat a blacktail chub or a fathead underneath a slip bobber while you're casting some of those out. Sounds like there's a fair number of fish that have been stacking up here below the Tenney Park locks. The only problem is that the weeds coming through there make it hard to fish. So, but folks are getting fish in there. Haven't heard much out of the lagoon other than little bluegills in there. Sounds like there are quite a few fish in the river right now. Every time it rains, they get more water that they let out of Mendota that raises the levels in the river, and then fish push up there. So I've heard about some bass and some muskies swimming around, walleyes, lots of panfish, lots of fish in there. And on Monona, I've heard about some great walleye action all the way from the like where the Yahara dumps in up here, all the way down the shoreline past and including the Monona Terrace and down John Nolan Drive. This time of year, the walleyes stack up in those areas, and shore fishing has been great. Heard about some real dandy fish, up near the 30-inch mark coming out of down there. Folks, again, jerk baits and paddle tails are awesome, but throw out a slip bobber with a lighted slip bobber and fish those fish at night, and you'll likely get fish on both. As far as other fish go, a lot of the bluegills have moved shallow now, and I've heard about a ton of bluegills in Brittingham Bay here and the triangles. Folks using redworm spikes on a little jig have been doing really well. Also some crappies being picked up in there, maybe more in the triangles a little bit, but some nice ones too. I've heard about several fish over 12 inches. The bite up here at the Monona Terrace for panfish has been good. Bluegills still biting during the day, crappies at night. And like I mentioned too, they're getting good walleye action up there too in the evenings. Haven't heard much out of Wingra other than, a lot of tiny panfish. Still getting some fish here below the spillway, below the dam here. And, good bass, good muskie here and there. Muskie action out of Monona has been great. Picking up certainly as these cool these cool temps have come down, and especially after turnover now, the sucker bite has been picking up and will continue to pick up right up until ice. So a lot of folks coming in picking up the 12 to 16 inch suckers we got and doing well with those. Down the chain here on Upper Mud, sounds like the panfish bite down there has been good. Panfish starting to move in there, getting ready for winter. Otherwise on Monona, sort of the same deal as Wabisa. Some shallow walleyes near rocks. Babcock Park's a good place to look. Hog Island. The muskie bite down here has been good. Folks also get them on suckers as they toss lures into shallow submerged weeds. I guess I haven't heard a ton in the way of panfish other than, a few on these shallow humps up here by Hog Island, down in shallow areas around Goodland Park and the bars out there. I've been holding some bluegills lately. Keeganza's been pretty quiet from what I hear anyway. Gills down there have moved shallow, so weed lines are a good place to start. Perch, I haven't heard anything about perch really all year down there, but walleyes up near the state park area is usually a great place to look out there. Down, I guess that does it for the chain itself. Down on Koshkonong, it sounded like I haven't heard anything this week, but the walleye bite down there has been pretty good, mostly up near the mouth of the river, and then up towards Black Hawk Island. I've heard some good reports coming out of there. Otherwise, on the river itself at Indian Ford and up to the Jefferson Dam, been hearing about walleye and sauger stacking up in there with some white bass and still some catfish hanging around. There's a good carp bite at the Jefferson Dam, I guess, last week. Beaver Dam, I had a guy in the shop earlier this week who said the walleye bite up there has been pretty good lately, along with some dandy bonus perch that are coming out of there, and of course lots of the eater-sized catfish still around. Heard about some fish starting to be spotted shallow over here after this cold weather at Devil's Lake, so maybe look for some cruising browns over there. Otherwise, things getting colder here on the river. The toothy fish have got their feed bag on, so pike and muskie up and down the river, especially at the dams, has been good. Smallmouth bite is still existent. Going to slow down here a little bit, though, as things cool down. Those fish kind of start to move into their winter mode. But, Prairie du Sac Dam, all the way down to Highway 12 Bridge, great muskie and pike action through there. Of course, walleye, sauger, and stuff stacked up at all the dams. Haven't heard a ton out of Lake Wisconsin, but last I heard was the size was improving up there. And the numbers as well, so the walleye action is picking up. Good panfish action in some of these bays, Moon Valley and Harmony Grove, Sunset Bay, stuff like that. So good panfish action, crappie near wood, bluegills in shallow water. I haven't heard much, I guess, from Portage up to the Dells. Good white bass bite up there at the Dells I heard about. Some walleye and sauger being picked up there too. Castle Rock's been quiet from what I haven't heard anything about it lately. I'm sure there's great action below the dam, though, always is. Same thing at the Petenwell Dam. And then Petenwell also has a great walleye bite going on right now. Sounds like they're getting fishing anywhere from 2 to 28 feet of water for whatever that means. But yeah, also, good white bass, panfish near wood, near shore. Action up there has been good. But the walleye action is really the star up there. Sounds like they're getting better fish with bigger minnows, so like a blacktail chub, small suckers, stuff like that. Either on a jig or under slip bobbers has been productive. Otherwise, Mississippi River bite over there has been great still, from what I hear. Sounds like the folks at the Clements Barge have been getting a good mix of walleye and sauger, perch, and on weed lines, crappie near wood, bluegills pretty much everywhere, wing dams, good smallmouth walleye action on wing dams. The run over in Milwaukee, the Kings are slowing down, and they're still in the tribs for sure. So all the way from Racine, all the way up to the east coast over here, you're going to find Kings in the tributaries. I'm not sure how many cohos are. I've heard some reports of some coming in, but as the water cools, more cohos will come in, and right with those fish or right behind them should be browns and steelhead, and that's my personal favorite action, is chasing those fish. So once the water gets a little cooler here, that action is going to pick up. Spoons and paddle tails are effective for those fish on the spinning side of things. Otherwise, on the fly side of things, I like to run a large dark colored woolly bugger with some kind of egg pattern, or like a buggy nymph as a dropper below that. I guess it is Friday, so we'll do the happy fly day thing here. Did I mention that we're closed on 11th to the 24th? Maybe I didn't at the top of the thing, but yeah, we're going to be closed then. And yeah, we have, I don't know if I did the speaker lineup either. Anyway, we have buggy nymphs. When I talk about buggy nymphs, they're big stonefly looking things like this. Here's a quarter for comparison, different color beads. These are just real heavy, great for getting your egg pattern down. I trail an egg pattern behind these. Especially good for steelhead and browns when we move forward here. But cohos will grab these things too. But yeah, and with inland trout closed till January, I guess that pretty much does it for the report. Feel free to call the shop here at 241-4225 if you have any questions. Feel free to post your comments and catches below. We always appreciate and like seeing that stuff. And appreciate you tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Take care.